MMORPGs really are a different kind of game. There is this fundamental difference at the core of the MMORPG fantasy that just differs it from other kinds of games. There are other genres of video games that touch on the same concepts, but very few of them place it at the core of their very being. That is, a living, breathing, and fully realized world. Because at the end of the day, what is an MMORPG if not an escape to a different world? Every MMO strives to draw us into their world in one way or another, through quests, characters, lore, but these days, there are few games that do this extremely well. This makes sense. It's not easy to create a world for an MMORPG. I mean, they're massively complex, and if you want them to feel truly real, the lore could take years, maybe decades to write. So to that end, I want to use two games that I think have very rich worlds, and mind you, this isn't an exhaustive list of great MMORPG worlds with deep and enjoyable lore, to kind of point out some things that make world building awesome, and how to do it right, and how other MMOs can do it right. Today, I want to look at world building through the lens of Nexus and Eorzea, Wildstar, and Final Fantasy XIV. Two games that I personally think have fantastic worlds, but more importantly, go about building their worlds in two kind of interesting ways. Nexus. Wild Western fantasy, science fiction mystery, and all around over the top. The legendary planet of Wildstar can't be said to lack lore or immersion. For an MMORPG not based on an established property, Nexus makes a surprisingly deep setting for the telegraph-dodging MMORPG. A blend of style and substance rarely seen in these days of GPU-crunching, hyper-realistic MMORPGs, where when everybody's pushing hardware, Nexus is just sitting back on its laurels, knowing its style will wind up making it timeless. But what about Nexus makes it so unique and so interesting? Well, Wildstar relies heavily on two things: exposition and detail. Wildstar loves to tell its story to anyone who asks. Hell, there's even a path in the game called Scientist, which seems specifically designed for people who love picking up lore tidbits. This game has tons of things that just tell you about its world if you want to go looking for them. From Elden data cubes scattered around the landscape, to secret conversations with characters, to all sorts of little things. Exposition is a huge driver of lore, but it doesn't feel forced. There's a reason for that. Wildstar likes to indulge us with all sorts of big narrative events like dungeons and cutscenes, and everything explained when relating to its main story, but it also scatters out its world building in the little details. A cast-off magazine describes Orin games. There's all sorts of little details hidden all over the place for people to seek out on their own. And seriously, some of these text documents make the books in Skyrim look really quaint. Suddenly you feel more at home, and I'm not just talking about your home in the sky. Nexus feels more real. The Elder Scrolls Online also uses this method of storytelling to really flesh out its world. It's kind of reminiscent of a lot of Elder Scrolls games, and a lot of games like that. Exposition to explain the world itself. Because largely, you're a fish-out-of-water character in these games, and it helps that this game is able to give you all of this information if you want to seek it out. If you don't, you can just go, blow up some dudes with your gun. But there are other ways to build a world, and to look at those, we're going to have to go to another place. Eorzea is a silly place, filled with catgirls, infant gnome things, and occasionally terrifying monsters. In this world, we take the role of an adventurer, a kind of catch-all soldier of fortune / hero of the land type, and we are again a fish out of water. Though Final Fantasy XIV does regale you with a lot of its exposition through paragraph after paragraph of quest text, fortunately most of it is skippable. There is a lot of exposition here that draws you into the world, but it also does something else interesting to bring you in completely. There's a narrative concept called suspension of disbelief out there. Essentially, it's your ability to accept certain facts about a world in order to be convenient to the story, and MMORPGs kind of need it in spades, because why do these monsters keep respawning? Who are these people I'm talking to, and why are they instantly willing to trust me? Final Fantasy XIV looked at the idea of suspension of disbelief and just tossed it out the window. Instead, it decided to live by a totally different rule. Everything is literal. What the hell does everything is literal mean? Because it's kind of an odd term. It means that all of the game mechanics need to be explainable in-game with lore. Here's a great example of this system in action. So there are events called EX Primals, or EX boss fights. They're basically extremely difficult boss battles that even when you come back, sink down, still provide a challenge to players that are 10 levels above them. EX Primals are punishing and can get you killed real fast, but fortunately you never actually do them, or at least your character doesn't. The EX Primals aren't actually a boss fight. They are in fact a bard recounting the tales of your glory, fighting a easier version of the boss. Mind you, there's a little bit of embellishment in how intense the great battle get, but your heroism is portrayed quite accurately through the enemy's incredible persistence. Everything from magic to crafting to boss respawns can be explained in-world, in lore, through this system, because in Final Fantasy XIV, everything is literal. Suspension of disbelief is not required. Even chat channels can be explained through the Link Pearl system that used to be an actual item in your inventory that you had to give to people in order to have them join your chat channel. Now, fortunately, it doesn't take up an item slot. All of this serves to make the game world feel more believable. When you don't need to suspend your disbelief, you can get more immersed in the experience, and it takes you in further. I think that's why Final Fantasy XIV has managed to draw so many people so deep into its world. Like Wildstar's scattered pieces of lore, this might not seem like much. These little narrative flares may seem like tiny breadcrumbs, but when taken together, they bring the world as a whole closer to feeling believable. Because at the end of the day, the original MO of the MMO is to take you out of your life and transplant you into a new digital world with thousands of others. The purest form of escapism. But for that to work, the world needs to be painted, fully realized, immersive, and powerful. Exposition, little details, and the maintenance of suspension of disbelief, all essential to this process. Because in an MMORPG, all the world's a stage. Hello everybody, and thank you very much for watching this video on MMORPGs and the worlds we escape into. I have been the Orange Chatter, and thank you very much for watching this video. It always makes me so happy when you guys enjoy these. And if you did enjoy them, please show it by liking or subscribing or leaving a comment so we can talk about stuff. I try to respond to as many as possible. I'm gonna plug some things now. Let's plug. Alright, so, you might have noticed a lot of Final Fantasy XIV footage. Yes, I am playing Final Fantasy XIV again, and I have a free company. What? And we are also running out of the Orange Chatter Discord server. If you're interested in playing Final Fantasy XIV and are willing to slog through the hell that it is to get onto Excalibur NA, then you're more than welcome to join us. We're recruiting, and yes, I'm using my YouTube platform to support my free company. What? Alright. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you very much for watching again. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and you continue to have a great one.